How to design and print your own 3D printed tripod? This is for you, Joel. How's it going, everyone? Jason here with 3D Matter Makers, and this week it's all about nerds.
Nerds! Nerd! Nerd!
Not those nerds. This nerd. That's not helping. This nerd. This nerd. Alright, there we go. So a few weeks ago, Joel, the 3D printing nerd, said that he wanted to pick up a tripod relatively inexpensively and posted it on Twitter. Now, of course, everybody responded saying, "Hey, you're the world-renowned 3D printer. Print one." But he was looking for something a little more tried and true, like an actual real tripod at an inexpensive price. You know, a while back I was looking for tripod designs on Thingiverse, and quite honestly, after God knows how long spinning down the page and hitting the load more button only to be thrust up another page and having to scroll down past everything I just looked at, so that got me thinking. There's a lot of really great designs for tripods out there on Thingiverse, but the limitation I see is a lot of them only move in one axis, whether it be the x-axis or the y-axis on a pivot, usually on a screw like an M3, M4 nut. The other problem that I came across is a lot of them didn't have adjustable height, so the legs were static. Now there were some cool designs I came across that had cool little features like spring-loaded legs that could fold out and stuff like that to give you the extra height, but I didn't see anything that was really truly a fully adjustable height. Now my parameters on this were pretty straightforward and simple. I wanted an adjustable height, so the legs needed to be telescopic, and I wanted the head to be able to move and swivel on a ball. Very simple. Now let me get a few things straight. I am not any sort of mechanical engineer, nor am I an experienced CAD designer or have a lot of experience with any sort of 3D modeling software. But just because I don't have these knowledges doesn't mean that I can't give it a good try and watch lots of videos and figure out how to do it. So that's exactly what I did. So there's a lot of great tutorials out there on YouTube by a lot of fantastic YouTubers who have tons of experience. And I'll put some links down in the description for some of those people. But I've got to call out one person. I mean, other than Joel, the 3D printing nerd, giving me the inspiration to do this design, the person who really made this possible was actually Angus over at Maker's Muse. Now the reason I say this is because it's about tolerances. I wanted something that was swivel and I wanted something that was telescopic. And I had to get tolerances right. And what I've come to learn is that this print, while maybe not the greatest tripod design in the world, actually definitely not the greatest tripod design in the world, it is functional and it is an exercise in making sure that you know tolerances and how good your printer can handle these. And the other great thing about this is that it is 100% 3D printed. So the first thing I had to figure out was actually how to build the leg. So this was done with just 3 tubes that I chamfered out, and then I lined them up inside of each other using one of the join features, and then I patterned out the holes and extruded the patterned holes through them. And these pins are actually what I later used to make my pins for the leg braces. So kind of a 2-in-1 purpose there, but then it was just doing some fillets and stuff like that to clean it up a little. Now once I had the legs figured out, I had to figure out how to do the whole mount plate. Now I actually didn't even have a tripod to base my design off of. I've had tripods in the past, but I just kind of had to do from memory and kind of figure out basically what I wanted to do. Now, in the design you're watching here, the angle on the legs is not quite as sharp as it is in the final product that I put out. I went back in later and changed the angle on these to be a little bit more drastic, as well as opened up those holes a little bit larger to try and get the pins through the legs because they didn't quite line up the same. Then I did the sphere on top after that, and just did a shell command on it basically, and then dropped another sphere on the midpoint. and then I just did a plane and cut the top off and created the new plate on the top. So there you have it, a fully 3D printed tripod. What did I learn from this? Well, I learned that I'm not a 3D designer. If you're gonna print screws and pins, remember to turn the infill to 100%, because as you can see, 20% doesn't work on screws. Now this actually got broken off on the inside in here, so I'm gonna have to actually reprint this because I lost this, or I could just cheat and use a regular screw and put it in there, which I might do because quite frankly I printed this like 6 times already. So yeah, my pins and my screw, I forgot to turn the infill back up to 100%. Speaking of my pins, I thought I was going to come up with a pretty cool, unique pin design, and it turns out I just made a really cheap golf tee. And I don't play golf, so yeah, there's that. Alright, so the other thing I learned is, you know, there's a lot of issues with this print. I mean, the base of these legs up here at the top where it meets the housing, it's too wide. These actually should come out about another 5 degrees or 6 degrees or so. The holes are not placed perfectly. I do not have a handle on this, which, you know, I guess I don't have to have. There's a pretty big surface to move, but it would be better to have a handle, just for fun's sake. The other thing that I learned is that tolerances are key, and your PLA that you use is a big factor in tolerances. So let me just show you real quick. This, of course, is printed in my favorite red, which is the Materio 3D Dragon Red. Now, when I printed it in this, it was pretty tight. I mean, it took a little work. I had to get my screwdriver and pop it a few times to get that bottom fuse to break free so this could extend. Now, everything else is clear on the tolerances. It printed in this fashion, in this orientation. Everything's clear on the tolerances, so that's okay. But when I was doing my test prints in the chocolate material that I have, which I don't remember the brand name, but the clearances on this were much more forgiving. And it's the exact same file, the exact same printer. I made no modifications to these legs. It's just that this chocolate PLA, the clearances were just a little bit more forgiving. You know, it could have been temperature and a lot of other factors. But the PLA that I used did make a difference. Again, I want to thank Joel, the 3D printing nerd, for, of course, being an inspiration as he always is. In this particular case, Joel inspired me to print a tripod, which allowed me to work on creating things with movable parts, which was fantastic. And of course, I could not have done this without Angus's videos over at Maker's Muse that taught me all about clearances and how they work, along with his other great tutorials on things like Fusion 360 and Blender and lots of other tools. So there you go, a 3D printed tripod for Joel. That's pretty much all I've got. Again, if y'all like these videos, please make sure you give us a thumbs up. And if you want to get notifications on when we release new videos, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to know as soon as that video posts, click that little bell icon so you can get your notification right away the new video is posted. Don't forget, people, it doesn't matter what you're making, as long as you're making matter. I'm Jason, and I'll catch y'all next week.